If you encounter a patient with an LVAD, first thing to look at is to make sure that the pump is running. So you can see there's a green circle indicator on the controller, and that lets you know that the pump is actually spinning. And then you can put your hand on the patient's left upper quadrant. You may feel a vibration, or if you listen with the stethoscope, excuse me, you'll hear a humming sound. That lets you know that the pump is running. Other buttons on here that you need to know, the alarm silence button, very important to give you a second to think about what's going on. And then the square button over to the right side of the screen just gives you some pump parameters. So this lets you know how fast the pump is spinning in revolutions per minute. If you keep hitting the square button, it'll kind of scroll through. There's pump flow in liters per minute. Pulsatile index, which again is just kind of an indicator of how much the patient's native left ventricle is contracting. Power in watts, and that just lets you know how much power the controller is drawing to make the pump spin. And then this last screen just lets you know that the internal battery is charged. All right. None of these buttons will allow you to change anything with the pump, so you're not going to cause any harm to the patient or change what the pump is doing. Common skills that you may need to do is just change the patient from their power sources. So if you encounter a patient who is on wall power and a battery, for example, and you need to take them to the hospital, so you just disconnect them from their wall power source. You can see there's kind of a semicircular connection on both the power cord and in the battery. If you just line those up, and there's just thread the collar down as you push, and it will just lock into place. You can check battery charge by pushing the button on the battery. You can see the lights illuminate. A fully charged battery will give you about 4 to 6 hours of battery power. So 2 fully charged batteries will give you about 8 to 12 hours of battery power. Another skill that you may need to do if you think that there's a malfunction with the controller, or if you're speaking with the LVAD coordinator and they tell you as part of your troubleshooting is to change the controller. The patients will have a bag of equipment that has a backup controller in it. You'll see it looks exactly the same as their primary controller. All the parameters are programmed the same on their backup controller as they are on the primary controller. All you need to do to turn this on is give it power. So if you line up the primary controller, just make sure all the cords are kind of in a straight line. It makes this process a little easier. If you disconnect one of the batteries from the old controller, the pump is still running on the old controller and old battery. Connect battery to the new controller. Okay. You can see the new controller powered on by itself. The next step is we just need to move the drive line that's connecting the pump to the primary controller over to the backup controller. And to do this, I'd recommend lining them up so that it makes the transition very quick. When you do this, the pump is going to shut off temporarily. Have the patient lay down or sit down. Again, the patients and their families are trained in this procedure before they leave the hospital, so you just may need to assist them with that. All you're going to do is flip open the controller door. There's a red button. Push it in. Pull the drive line straight out. Push it straight into the next controller. You're going to get alarms on both controllers. Just hit the alarm silence button. So you're now on the backup controller. Just make sure that the green indicator is letting you know that the pump is spinning. You can feel that there's a hum, and now you're on the backup controller. Lastly, switch to the second power source for the backup controller. All right, so now you are on the backup controller, the pump is running, you have 2 power sources. The last thing you need to do is just power down the other controller that you don't need anymore. If you just push and hold the battery button, you can see it starts to count down. All right. Now the second controller is off. You can just bring that with you to the hospital. Okay, just to briefly review some alarms that you may encounter. There's two classifications of alarms for LVADs. One is a yellow wrench alarm. These are usually a technical alarm. You can see that the indicator is illuminating, and it's telling you that the speed on the pump is low and to call the hospital. Usually this is a technical issue. Something's wrong with the controller or the pump. And the best resource to help you work through that is going to be either the patient or their family member. If they're not available or they're incapacitated, if you just call the LVAD coordinator at the implanting hospital, they can walk you through. You may just need to change the controller or a battery. So a lower priority alarm. A higher priority alarm is a red heart alarm. So you can see there's a red heart indicator illuminated. And it's telling you what to do. So the issue here is the driveline is disconnected. It's letting you know where the driveline needs to be reconnected. Red heart alarms are immediate priority alarms, there's a life-threatening situation happening. So in this situation, you just need to reconnect the driveline that we already reviewed. All right. You can see the green indicator is letting you know that the pump is running. You can see now the red heart alarm has resolved. And that's it.